Good morning, my dear friend. If you're listening to this right now, I imagine your surroundings are quiet. Maybe you're holding a warm cup of coffee or tea, or perhaps you're simply sitting in a room filled with soft light. However your day has started, I'm so glad you're here. You see, there's something sacred about these quiet moments. They are simple, yes, but they are powerful. And today, I want to speak to the part of you that maybe doesn't get much attention anymore. The part of you that wonders, is this it? Is this all there is now? The part of you that sometimes feels invisible, or like you're waiting for something, or someone, to bring your life back to fullness. Here's what I want you to hear. No one is coming. And that is not a tragedy. It's not the sad ending of a story. It's the beginning of a beautiful one. Because when we stop waiting, we begin living. When we stop looking out the window, hoping for someone to show up, we turn inward, and there we find the most important person we've been ignoring for far too long, ourselves. This time in life, this season, whether you're in your 60s, 70s, 80s, or beyond, it is not empty. It is wide open, and it is yours, entirely yours. Today's conversation is about solitude, but not the kind that feels lonely. It's about the kind of solitude that becomes strength, the kind that teaches you how to love yourself, how to be your own best friend, and how to finally give yourself the care, attention, and love that you may have spent a lifetime giving to others. 1. The myth of the empty house. When I first imagined what this stage of life might look like, I was afraid of the quiet. I imagined walking through a still house, empty of voices, of footsteps, of the busy noise I'd once taken for granted. No doors opening, no children laughing, no one calling out for me from the other room, just stillness. And to be honest, I thought it would feel like a kind of loss, a daily reminder of what used to be. Because for most of my life, I defined myself by who needed me. I was the caretaker, the partner, the mother, the reliable one. I measured my worth by how many people I could help, how many tasks I could complete, how full I kept the calendar. And in those moments, I told myself, one day when the house is finally quiet, then I'll rest, then I'll read, then I'll breathe. But when that day finally came, when the house did go quiet, it didn't feel like rest, not right away. It felt like I'd been left behind, as though the world had continued on without me. No one knocking on the door, no one needing anything. Just long, quiet days where my thoughts echoed louder than they ever had before. And yet, something unexpected happened. Little by little, I started to see the quiet differently. It wasn't empty. It was open. Wide open. For the first time, I wasn't being pulled in 20 different directions. I wasn't juggling everyone else's needs. I could sit. I could think. I could finally hear my own voice again. And oh, she had so much to say. I started noticing things I'd never paid attention to before. The way the light moved through the house at different hours. The comfort of a freshly made bed. The way a single flower on the kitchen table could change the mood of the entire room. These weren't grand discoveries. They were simple. But they were mine. There's this belief that the quiet house is a sad house, that a woman living alone must be lonely. But I want to challenge that. Because for me, the quiet has become sacred. It has become space to remember who I am, apart from who I've been to others. The truth is, most of us have spent decades taking care of people. And we've done it with love and grace and strength. But now is the time to take care of ourselves, not out of obligation, but out of devotion. This house may be quiet, but it is not empty. It holds memories. It holds laughter in the walls. It holds potential. It holds me, and I'm learning that I am enough to fill it. So if you've been looking around your own life and wondering where everyone went, Maybe it's not about their absence. Maybe it's about your presence. You are still here, and that matters. 2. You are not left behind. You are arriving. There's a moment in every woman's life when she looks around and realizes that the world she built, piece by piece, year after year, has changed. The children are grown. The marriage may have ended, or perhaps it's just quieted into a different rhythm. The job is over. The routine is gone. And in its place is space, time, stillness. And if we're honest, that space can feel a little frightening. You might wonder, did life just move on without me? Did everyone else keep going while I'm just here? But I want to offer you something else to consider. A shift in perspective. You have not been left behind. You have arrived. Think about that. All those years of caring, of doing, of showing up for others, every single one of them was meaningful. But they also required something of you. They required your energy, your attention, your sacrifice. And now, for the first time in a long time, that energy is returning home. To you. You are not behind. You are right on time. You are not lost. You are being reintroduced to yourself. There is no expiration date on discovery, on purpose, on joy. There is no age when we stop evolving, unless we decide to stop. And I don't think you're done yet. In fact, I think you're just getting started. This isn't the end of the story. It's the start of a new chapter. One that doesn't require permission from anyone else. One where you get to decide what your days look like, what brings you joy, what makes you feel alive. And that can feel unfamiliar at first. We're so used to putting other people first, we might not even know how to ask ourselves, what do I want today? But that question is powerful. That question is freedom. Some people will tell you that the best part of life is in your 20s. I don't believe that. Not for a second. Because in your 20s, you're still figuring out who you are. You're trying to please everyone. You're comparing. You're exhausted from trying to keep up. But now, you've lived, you've loved, you've lost, you've overcome. You know how to survive hard things. And more than that, you know how to savor good things. You've earned the right to slow down, to choose joy, to say no, to say yes, to say, I'll think about it, and to say, I've changed my mind. That's not being behind. That's wisdom. That's not loneliness. That's liberation. And no, not everyone will understand this version of you. That's okay. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to be true to yourself. That is your job now. To honor your voice, to listen to your instincts, to become your own best friend. You have not missed the boat. You are the boat. You are the journey. And right now, you are exactly where you are meant to be. 3. Dress like someone you love. There was a time not too long ago when I would wake up, glance in the mirror, and think, what's the point? No one was coming by the house, no big events, no fancy outings. Some days, I'd throw on the same old stretched out sweatshirt and worn leggings, barely brush my hair, and call it comfortable. I told myself it didn't matter, but over time, I began to feel a subtle shift, a quiet ache I couldn't name, and eventually, I realized it wasn't about the clothes. It was about how I saw myself. We often dress up for other people, for partners, for work, for special occasions. But what happens when the audience disappears, when no one's watching? That's when the real question arises. How do I treat myself when no one else is around to notice? That question changed everything for me. Because here's the truth. How you present yourself to yourself, yes, even when no one is looking, says something about how much you still care. And I don't mean that you have to put on makeup every day or wear high heels to take out the trash. Not at all. I mean honoring yourself, adorning yourself, looking in the mirror and saying, I'm still here. I still matter. So, I started small. One morning, I took a little more time with my moisturizer. I picked a soft sweater that made me feel elegant instead of invisible. I added a touch of lipstick, not for anyone else, but because when I caught my reflection in the mirror, it made me smile. And just like that, something shifted inside. I wasn't trying to impress. I wasn't trying to turn back time. I was simply choosing to show up for myself with the same tenderness I'd spent years offering to others. When we were younger, getting dressed was about fitting in. It was about rules, approval, what was appropriate. But now it's about joy, comfort, expression. It's about waking up and deciding, how do I want to feel today? Some days, that might mean soft cotton pajamas and cozy socks. And that's perfectly okay. Rest is part of care too. But on other days, it might mean color. It might mean earrings. It might mean spritzing a perfume that reminds you of summers long past. Not for anyone else, just because it brings you to life. Because you deserve to feel beautiful. You deserve to feel seen, even if the only eyes on you are your own. So many of us, especially as we grow older, start to fade ourselves out of the picture. We shrink down. We hide behind routines. We stop showing up with the same care because we believe no one is watching. But you are watching, and that matters more than you think. Treat yourself like someone you deeply love, not because you have something to prove, not because you're chasing approval, but because this life, your life, is still happening, and you deserve to feel good in it. So tomorrow morning, I want you to try something. Set out an outfit that makes you feel vibrant. Maybe it's a scarf in your favorite color. Maybe it's a blouse you haven't worn in a while. Add something that feels a little luxurious. Lip balm, earrings, perfume. And then look at yourself. Really look. Smile if you can. Breathe in that quiet dignity. That's yours. This isn't about fashion. It's about reverence. You're still here. You are worth showing up for. 4. Little joys are not little. For most of my life, I chased big moments. Holidays, birthdays, weddings, graduations. I filled calendars and rooms, and my heart swelled with the rush of doing, planning, helping, hosting. That's how I measured a meaningful life. Through activity, through people, through motion. But now, the pace has slowed. The invitations are fewer. The calendar isn't packed the way it used to be. And in that stillness, I've learned something I wish I'd understood earlier. Joy doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it's in the way the light lands on your favorite chair in the late afternoon. Sometimes it's in the first sip of warm tea, or the sound of wind brushing past the garden outside. It's a small thing, really, until you realize how much it feeds your spirit. One of the biggest myths about getting older is that life gets smaller. But what if it doesn't get smaller? What if it just gets quieter? And in that quiet, we begin to notice all the small things that were always there, waiting for us to finally slow down enough to see them. For me, joy now lives in ordinary rituals. Lighting a candle at dusk, playing a song that reminds me of my younger self, washing the dishes slowly with lavender soap, not because I have to, but because I get to. It's in buying myself fresh flowers from the corner market. It's in folding laundry while listening to a podcast. It's in rereading a book I loved 30 years ago and discovering that I love it even more now. And none of these are headline moments. They don't get applause, but they matter. They matter because they remind me that I am still engaged with life, still feeling, still capable of creating peace, beauty, and comfort for myself. And more importantly, they remind me that happiness was never in the big things. It was always here, waiting in the background. When you start paying attention to small joys, you begin to feel more present, more rooted, and eventually, more grateful. You realize you don't need someone to come sweep you off your feet. You just need to step onto your porch and notice the roses you planted last spring. I know people who travel the world looking for meaning. But I believe you can find just as much meaning in the way you make your morning oatmeal, in how you speak to yourself when no one's around, in how you sit in your own company and feel at peace. These small things add up. They shape the tone of your days, and the tone of your days becomes the shape of your life. And here's something else. The more you recognize and honor these small joys, the less you feel like you're waiting for something else to begin. You stop waiting for someone to call, for a new relationship, for some external change to tell you, now your life matters again. Instead, you start realizing, it already does. I want you to think about this. What's one small thing that brings you peace? What's one little act, just for you, that makes your day feel softer? Maybe it's polishing your nails. Maybe it's sitting under a tree. Maybe it's making the perfect cup of coffee and drinking it slowly, without any distractions. Whatever it is, do more of that. Not because it fixes everything, but because it reminds you that you're still alive and life is still beautiful. Little joys are not little. They are the thread that holds us together. 5. New ways to connect. One of the things I used to fear most about getting older was the idea of losing connection, not just with people, but with the world around me. I worried that the phone would stop ringing, that invitations would slow down, and that somehow I'd drift further and further away from the community I'd once felt so woven into. And in some ways, yes, things have changed. Friends have moved. Loved ones have passed on. Some connections have faded with time, not out of malice, just the natural rhythm of life. But what I've learned, through experience and through a little quiet courage, is that connection never truly ends. It just evolves. It may no longer look like crowded dinner tables or packed weekends, but it can still be deeply meaningful. Sometimes it looks like a handwritten card tucked into the mailbox, or an email exchanged with a friend you met once, but just clicked with. Sometimes it's a conversation in the comment section of a video like this one, where strangers become familiar and familiar becomes comforting. I've found connection in places I never expected. I became pen pals with a woman I met briefly at a bookstore event. She was visiting from out of town. We struck up a conversation, and now every few weeks, we send each other long, thoughtful emails. We write about our gardens, about books we're reading, about what we're learning at this stage of life. And let me tell you, those emails feel like lifelines, like warm tea in letter form. Technology may not be what we grew up with, but it has given us new ways to stay close. FaceTime with a grandchild, a quick photo from a friend across the country, a Facebook message from someone you haven't seen in decades. These little pings of presence, they matter. Because connection doesn't have to be constant to be meaningful. It doesn't have to be loud to be real. Even the simple act of thinking about someone and sending them love in your heart, that too is a form of connection. I used to believe I had to be in the same room with someone to feel bonded, that if I wasn't face to face, the relationship didn't count. But now I know better. Emotional presence is just as powerful, sometimes even more so, than physical presence. If you've been feeling disconnected lately, I want to offer you this gentle reminder. You're not forgotten. There are people out there who think of you, who smile when they remember something you said, who miss you more than they've ever said out loud. And more than that, you have the power to reach out. You can be the one to write the note, to make the call, to send the message. It doesn't have to be long or poetic, just sincere. A simple, "I was thinking about you today," can brighten someone's entire week. You don't have to be surrounded by people to feel loved. You don't have to be busy to be valued. And just because your circle may be smaller now, doesn't mean it's less sacred. If anything, it might be more so. These later life connections, they're often richer, deeper, more intentional. So keep your heart open. Keep showing up in whatever way feels right for you. Whether it's through a screen, a mailbox, a voice on the phone, or a handwritten note tucked beside a teacup, connection is still alive in your life. It might look different, but it's still here. And so are you. 6. Financial freedom is emotional freedom. Growing up, I was taught to be careful with money. Save what you can. Don't spend what you don't have. Be grateful for what you get. And for a long time, I followed that advice, especially during years when the budget was tight and every penny had a purpose. But somewhere along the way, I also picked up another message, one that took years to untangle. I started to believe that my worth was tied to what someone else could offer me, that security came from having someone to lean on, a partner to pay the bills, or to treat me, or to plan for our future. And maybe you were taught that too. But now, in this stage of life, I've come to a very different understanding. Financial freedom isn't just about dollars and cents. It's not just about being able to buy things or pay for vacations. No, it's something deeper than that. It's about emotional freedom. It's about standing in your own life and saying, I can take care of myself. I can provide for my own comfort. I don't need permission to enjoy the life I've earned. That kind of freedom is not loud or flashy. It's quiet confidence. It's walking into a store and buying yourself that candle you love because it brings you joy, not because someone else gave it to you. It's taking a trip you've always wanted to take, not to escape your life, but to celebrate the fact that you finally have the time and the means to do it. For many of us, financial independence didn't come easy. We worked, we sacrificed, we did without so that others could have more. And now, I believe, is the time to reclaim what we so often gave away. Not just money, but the right to make choices without guilt. You do not have to wait for someone to give you something nice. You can give it to yourself. You don't need someone else to say you deserve it. You already do. And this isn't about rejecting partnership or generosity. Not at all. If someone wants to give you a gift or treat you kindly, by all means, receive it with grace. But what I've found to be even more powerful is this, knowing that I can create a life I love with what I already have, with what I've earned, with who I am. There's something sacred about that. You see, when we stop depending on others to make our lives feel full, we begin to realize that the power to live meaningfully has been inside us all along. We just forgot to use it. It's a little thing. But every time I buy myself something small, a new book, a pair of earrings, a plant for my kitchen window, it's not just a purchase. It's a message, a quiet reminder. I am worth investing in. I don't need anyone to rescue me. I've already done the hardest work. I've raised children, or weathered heartbreak, or started over after loss. I've learned how to survive. Now I get to learn how to thrive. So if you're sitting there wondering whether it's selfish to spend money on yourself, I want you to hear this clearly. It is not selfish. It is self-honoring. It is responsible. It is beautiful. And most of all, it is yours to decide. This is your time, your season, your freedom. Use it well. 7. You are the one you've been waiting for. There's something I want to tell you, and I hope you'll let it sink in, not just in your mind, but in your heart. You are the one you've been waiting for, not someone else, not a partner to complete you, not the next big plan or event or turning point to give your life meaning. You, exactly as you are right now. And I know that might sound strange. We've been raised in a world that tells us our value comes from our relationships, from our roles, from what we give to others. For decades, We've poured our time and energy into caring, loving, showing up, holding it all together. And now, the world is quieter. The house is calmer. The calendar is emptier. And that old voice inside might still whisper, "What now?" Here's what now. You begin. Not a new version of you, not a reinvention, but a return, a homecoming, to the self that has always been with you, patiently waiting beneath the noise, the tasks, the caretaking, the distractions. She has always been there, the one who knows what calms you down, the one who makes you laugh when no one else is around, the one who has survived every hard chapter, the one who remembers your dreams, even the ones you set aside. And now, she's asking for your attention. This chapter of your life is not a blank page. It's a gift. A chance to nurture that relationship with yourself, to speak to yourself kindly, to take yourself seriously, to treat yourself gently. That might look like sitting in the garden with a cup of tea, just breathing and listening to the wind. It might look like saying no without explaining why. It might look like signing up for a pottery class, writing poetry again, or dancing in the kitchen to music from your teenage years. You're not too old. You're not too late. You're not behind. You're becoming. You're unfolding. And you are absolutely enough. The greatest act of love you can offer yourself right now is presence. Not fixing, not striving. Just being with yourself the way you would with someone you deeply adore. Imagine treating yourself with the same patience and compassion you've spent your whole life giving to others. It's okay if this still feels unfamiliar. Most of us were never taught how to love ourselves. We were taught how to work, how to serve, how to wait our turn. But we were not taught how to sit still and feel whole without anyone else in the room. But you can learn. You are learning. And every quiet morning, you wake up and choose to care for yourself. In even the smallest ways, you are practicing. You are building trust with yourself. You're becoming your own best friend. So let this be the chapter where you stop waiting. Stop waiting for someone to knock on your door and change your life. Stop waiting for a sign that you are lovable, or worthy, or beautiful. Stop waiting for permission to rest, to explore, to celebrate, to feel alive. You are the one you've been waiting for, and she's been here all along.